appreciate the opportunity to speak with you a little bit this morning. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son-in-law, I'm an employer. I have about 25 people in my business. I'm a church member, I'm a neighbor. I have a lot of relationships in my life, as we all do, and I have never found one that has not been better because of coach training. One of the most profound elements that I took away from coach training is that I need to believe that the answer that people really need is within them. And my role is really to help them find what that is. It's not to give them the answer, it's to help them to find their answer. For me, from a spiritual perspective, there's a role for the Lord in this, of course, but it's not the ability for them to find within themselves what their answer is and what their path is really powerful to me. And the coach training is a teachable skill. It's like any kind of training. The more you do it, the better you get at it. I would offer that whether you're on the junior varsity team, the varsity team, the Olympic team in coach training, it's a benefit to your life and to those with whom you do have relationships in your world. I'll give you 3 examples in my life of where coach training has been of benefit to me. And one of them was just a family circumstance. A son and daughter-in-law, been married for a few years, buying their first home. And they asked me the question, are we crazy for doing this? On the inside, my response was, hubbada, bubbada, bubbada, bubbada. I'm not sure about that. But I quickly said a prayer and decided that, they needed more than that. And coach training kind of kicked in. So I started asking the questions about, well, what have you done so far about this? And how did you feel about what you've been doing? Where do you feel most confident in this? And where are you feeling not confident? Well, what can you do about becoming more confident in those areas? And I never did give them an answer. I never did give them an opinion about what they should be doing. But they ended up feeling confident about how they were moving forward and what they needed to do. And they came up with a plan of what gaps they need to fill. And the end of that story was quite a success story, but not in the way they expected, where they did go ahead with the purchase. It was to build a new townhouse in Philadelphia. The developer, instead of delivering it in 6 months, took 2 years. Tried for that whole period of time to get them out of the deal because prices were escalating quickly. They eventually did close. In the meantime, they commuted a long distance for all that period of time, but they sold it 2 years later, doubled their money, and it was quite a story, but the path was also very important to them. And I was glad to be able to not give them an answer, but give them some confidence. The second circumstance was a very good friend of mine who was having difficulty in relating to me, difficulties with his boss. He had a good relationship with his boss, but just felt as if she was going out of her way to frustrate his work in some way, which didn't make any sense to me. But, again, I didn't offer him an opinion, didn't just asked him one question, which was, do you think your boss is purposefully out to make your life frustrating and less productive? And that led him on his own path of thinking that, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would she be doing that? He approached his boss. They had the conversation. She was horrified that he would even be thinking that and didn't understand that what she was doing was complicating to his ability to perform. And life went on very easily. And from my one question, he formed what his path needed to be. He executed it. And when I asked him about it later, I said, how did it work out? And he said, you were right on the money. And I was like, well, I wasn't on anybody's money. I mean, it was a question that you came up with and you asked. And so it was another success story, all from my coach training. Another one, last example, is kind of a more serious example. It's a business matter relating to employer-employee relationship, in which there's a lot of legalities around that. I had an employee who was underperforming, and he was a brother, fellow Christian believer, but it just was not working out. He was not being able to be, we were questioning his productivity and also just the quality of his work. And I'm an engineer. I have an engineering company, and obviously we have to get the answers right. And we were really questioning that. So we went through a more formal process, which really is based on coach training, but it was a performance review process that set up what identifying what he thought the issues were, what we as an employer thought the issues were as well. What was his plan, though, to address those in attempts to resolve them? And we struck up formal meeting timeframes every week, with a review every week and a formal review every 3 months. And after a period of 6 months, he elected to separate himself from the company, which was a win-win, confident. But it was, again, relying on my coach training to be able to allow that process, to see the value of that process. For him personally, we had a great investment of time in him, and so we did not want to see him fail. We wanted to see him succeed. But even if he wasn't going to succeed for us, we were interested in him succeeding for himself. And we identified some circumstances where his communications capabilities, the speaking capabilities were not where they needed to be. His writing capabilities were not where they needed to be, even though his technical capabilities seemed to be good. But we even came to question those in the end as well. But again, it was because of my coaching training and belief that I wanted what was best for these individuals in all of these circumstances. It wasn't about me, it was about them and what their plan needed to be for themselves. That really was most profound and important to me. I'm an introvert, so this is not first nature to me to be getting so involved in people's lives and asking these kinds of questions, but I've come to really appreciate relationships and what I can do to contribute to those relationships, and not just what I could take away from those relationships, and find it very, very fulfilling. And I would strongly endorse going through coach training, whether it you become a varsity athlete or an Olympian. I'm neither, but I find it every day to be very useful in relationships with other people and beneficial to them and to me.